Welcome to the Your Best Kept Business Secret podcast. I am Marc Ford, coach, author, keynote speaker, and solver of problems in business, giving you the business that your hard work truly deserves. Now, on today's podcast, I want to share with you, talk to you about the 10 problems that your business potentially faces right now and how to take a very different perspective on them so that you can solve them, take some action, and get on doing what you do best, which is making money and growing your business. Today is today, tomorrow is a new day, and that's certainly a step forward considering the last 2 years where every day in lockdown, the days, the weeks and the months have all, kind of blended into one. There is not one day that goes by where as a population we don't talk about the C word, the COVID pandemic. It is on the news, it's on our social feeds, and it has infiltrated both our personal and our professional worlds. Many businesses have shifted employees to the work from home routines, changing everything about how the business day actually works for them. We've moved from in-person to video, we've adapted to multiple family members, attempting to be productive in the same space at the same time, and we've shifted from bricks and mortar to a heavier online presence. Now, in the midst of all of this, there have been some brilliant success stories publicised all over the media, social media, and on the internet. Yet, the challenges are ever apparent. Please don't believe everything that you read or hear on the mainstream media or the socialite business owners of Instagram feeds. Many have lost revenue. Many have laid off employees. Many have had challenges with technology, and others have struggled with the limited resources at their disposal. Many have just quite simply closed their doors permanently. The most impacted? Well, that's the small business. That's 5,659,000 businesses here in the UK. The small businesses, in my opinion, is what makes the UK economy great. It is not only the entrepreneurial spirit that thrives here, but the ability to make a dream a reality. What was once a sketch on a notebook or a conversation over a pint can actually become something in this country. No idea is too great, no passion is stifled, no desire to persevere is frowned upon in any shape or form. See, we have the imagination and the resources to take an idea and make it into something genuinely special. But in the past year or so, our favourite shops have quite simply disappeared. Our friends have lost what they built from the ground up, and the hope for the future for many has just dwindled, and my heart is truly broken so many times seeing good people go to the wall. This is a difficult time, and it is my obligation and my why to help those as best I can. So in that spirit, I've asked small business owners about their biggest challenges that they actually face today. After all, what plagues one is likely to plague many. It is not a sign of weakness to struggle in this time. Far from it. In fact, it's admirable to acknowledge that these times are really difficult and we need the village mentality to get to the other side. So do you know how to help those small business owners? Do you have resources that you can lend? Do you have advice to offer? Be that village and get them to take a look at these issues so that they too know they are not the only ones. Challenge number 1, the ability to transition to a digital first world. Now, large companies have the budget to quickly make this transition, whether it means building new product features, offering more flexible payment options, or making sure that your team stays productive whilst working from home. Now, if you're a small business thinking that this challenge is way too difficult, expensive and complicated, well, you're probably right. But the good news is that it can be overcome and solutions put in place that don't cost the earth, but are quickly beneficial to your customers, your clients, and your staff. Challenge number 2, lack of in-person networking events. Now, in-person networking events were a great source of client acquisition for many, many small business owners before the pandemic. Zoom networking events were just not for the same for so many obvious reasons. Prospects, local business owners simply preferred, well, face-to-face interactions. The complete death of networking events, which still are a lifeline for many small business owners to expand their brand reach to their local target market, has been a massive, massive challenge. Many that relied on the face-to-face aspect of networking have also left networking organizations based simply on the premise that it just wasn't the same experience. This is where it gets interesting, because face-to-face networking has started again, and although there was an initial spike in attendance, it actually seems to be dwindling after a few meetings of the same groups again. Now, this is because this is just becoming a three-way split in networking. See, the first one is you've got the face-to-face networkers, you then got the online networkers, and then you've got the ones that like to do a little bit of both. So if you did go networking, it's time to get back to it. If you didn't go networking, well, it's time to start doing it. And if you are networking, perhaps seek out what really works for you, whether it's doing more of what you do best or seeking out new crowds of business owners. Challenge 3. Forward planning is very difficult. Now, COVID, its aftermath, and Brexit are making forward planning pretty impossible. Without knowing how long it's going to be here and to what degree, it's nearly impossible to plan out marketing efforts, gauge staffing needs, or just know what our customers and our clients really need. Spending marketing money on something that you're not really sure is going to happen has been a massive challenge, and genuinely there are a lot of business owners that are not sure if they should just shut down and wait it out, or they should keep trying to open back up and do different things. Now, when it comes to planning events, launches, or new things, there is a consensus that we should be looking at 3, 6, and 9 month planning. Personally, I think that's been very difficult for many businesses, as there were way too many business coach idiots like me telling everybody that they should only have a plan A and there is no plan B, or that they must have a 5-year plan and an exit strategy. That's it. That shit rarely worked in the first time. And so having longer term goals are good only if you acknowledge that you might get there a little later than planned. For the next couple of years, shorter term planning is going to be essential. It will teach you to be flexible, nimble, and understanding the benefits of a backup plan. As someone far more intelligent than I once said, if plan A doesn't work, there are another 25 letters of the alphabet. And trust me, that knowledge and level of forgiveness to yourself and your business has saved many of the businesses that I've worked with over the last year. Challenge 4, leaving brick and mortar. Now, pivoting businesses to be completely online has been a huge challenge for even the biggest business in 2020 and 2021. The bricks and mortar businesses that could not survive COVID have essentially, well, just started completely over with a digital business. But clients just aren't spending money the way they were 6 months ago or even 2 months ago. For those that thought things would go back to normal, I'm afraid you have lost the freaking plot. Your customers and your client psychology has changed, and this is where even the biggest businesses are genuinely missing a trick. Let me give you an example in hospitality, let's say. Now, many are now relying heavily on people spending time and money with them at the weekend. If they have a bad weekend due to outside circumstances like weather or events, they are now in real danger of failing. Many have opened up with the same menus, drinks offerings, as well as the same fixtures and fittings. 2 things. The first is that if the service, food and experience was shit, just like before the pandemic, then guess what? People still won't spend their money with you. Fact. Secondly, a friend of mine remarked how it took him a few seconds to compute how much a round of drinks had actually cost them. For over a year, we could get a case of beer, a bottle of gin and a pizza for less than 25 quid. Now, when you're being asked for that same amount of money for 4 or 5 drinks in a round, people will stop and ask themselves, why are they doing what they are doing? My point here is that we've all been trained to think, act and spend differently. For businesses to grow and thrive, they need to change their psychology and work out what it takes to attract the customers that they want, with what they want, when they want it, and with what they can afford. Challenge 5, the lack of work-life balance. Now, work-life balance has become difficult. Before the pandemic, we could sort of clock in and we could clock out, then leave all the work-related problems at the office. However, now that many are actually working from home, they are busy with taking care of the family whilst they're trying to accomplish their working goals. As a result, it can be easy for us to get burnt out for doing everything at the same time. This is where working out where people's boundaries really are, and I fear it will get a lot messier before it gets better. There's no handbook for this in the HR departments up and down the country. Quite simply, it doesn't exist. There are so many things that need to balance out. Management versus output, creativity versus minimum requirements, productivity versus laziness, pandemic versus health and safety versus liability. It is a crazy mix, and one which will kind of sort itself out given time. Oddly, I've got a feeling this is going to be down to the individual. Once the novelty of working from home has probably worn off, the increased electric and the heating bills have kicked in, and basically the kitchen table no longer is the best place for them to work from, individuals will actually work it out for themselves. Small businesses need to sit and wait on this one, I'm afraid, and many things. Challenge number 6, shipping costs. Now, port delays and Brexit have had an increase in the cost of overseas shipping prices due to COVID's impact on shipping procedures. In addition, some customers have had to cancel events after purchasing items, and therefore return rates are beyond normal levels. It's interesting to note that I don't actually think that these problems are going to go away overnight. So, in the interests of your business, you should perform a monthly review of shipping costs and its connected activities, always looking to lower those costs by 10%, but only if that lowered cost does not impact your customers and ultimately you. It's a piece of work that I know is an extra ball ache, but ultimately, in time, given money and given some effort, it will save you time, money in the long run. Challenge number 7, lacking creativity. Now, one challenge facing businesses in these very odd times is maintaining high levels of creativity in the work environment that we're in today. In the past, a lot of some of the best ideas come from group meetings where people would all kind of meet and share their thoughts. And many have found it far more difficult to do that or replicate it in an online environment. Many simply do not feel the same energy over a Zoom call as you would do in a person-to-person meeting. Many echo that view and kind of just say that they are just done with Zoom and it is Zoom fatigue. The struggle is real, folks. Here, I think many will have to admit an element of defeat and understand that actually online is not going to go away anytime soon. However, I would also plead to people's sensibilities when it comes to trying to operate a blend of in-person and online meetings. Creativity is actually difficult to switch on and off, and probably is found in its most comfortable of spaces. Aim to do what's right. I'll tell you what, go from there, see what happens. Challenge 8, blips in production. Now, a big challenge is the upset in component and product production. The components of many products are produced in several factories across the world. The varying state and government regulations, depending on location, affects the staffing capacities at the factories and thus negatively impacting the turnaround times on many products. Some businesses are reporting recent production runs took on average approximately 25% longer to complete compared to similar productions pre-COVID. Now, this challenge leads businesses to encounter significant inventory shortages, if I could say it, as they have headed into the busiest time of year for product demands. Maintaining stock of necessary materials to continue day-to-day operation is a major challenge right now. Now, due to delays and breaks in the normal supply chains, businesses are experiencing longer lead times on most materials out of stock for extended periods from some suppliers. The breakdown in supply chain has made maintaining the standard increasingly difficult for so many businesses. And look, those that didn't think this was going to happen, well, I'm sorry guys, but you were living on a completely different planet to the rest of us. Those that shrug their shoulders and continue to whine about it are at best burying their heads in the sand and are just generally pissing off their customers. Honesty is the best practice here. Tell the customers what the problems are so that they are fully informed. Secondly, find a backup. There are thousands of businesses in this country and around the world that do what you need them to do. Look at this as an opportunity to find, connect with, and buy from other businesses that need your support as much as they need yours. Challenge 9, pressure to perform. Now, this is not strictly a male problem anymore, but a major challenge that has emerged is the concern over the external pressures that COVID has put on everybody. People are just not concerned about their jobs anymore, but also about their health, about their money, everything. The constant fear has taken its toll and businesses are noticing a drop in performance. The biggest problem is that many just don't know, well, how to deal with this. On one hand, some would kind of feel the need to address the drop in performance if the business continues to suffer. And on the other hand, many feel that they can't put additional pressure on people because actually they know that they're doing the best they can in really difficult circumstances. There is actually no easy answer to this, full stop. It really does come down to the individual management and not a one-size-fits-all approach. One of the highlights of the pandemic, if there is such a thing, are some of the shining stars in human resources that have emerged offering sensible, honest and realistic advice when it comes to managing the most important part of every business, its people. So reach out to recommended HR professionals who can help you manage your team, your expectations, as well as theirs. Challenge number 10, long-term versus short-term content. Now, as someone who runs a business, giving business advice, I think the biggest challenge that this pandemic has brought upon me is not knowing how much of my content should be evergreen and how much of it should be geared towards the pandemic. Well, you see, the problem with evergreen content is that people might not see it as relatable, and the problem with COVID-themed content is that it won't be relatable once the pandemic is, well, kind of over, really. So really the paradigm here is long-term versus short-term. And to this, I actually have no answer other than just keep doing something. Somewhere, someone is watching, and that someone will appreciate you and appreciate the help that you're giving. Look, the world is struggling, personally and professionally alike. But as these worlds have collided, the challenges for small business have been nothing like we have ever seen before. It's no longer about taking a great idea and putting it into motion. It's not even about building an amazing team and watching it flourish anymore. And it's no longer about following a dream or taking that chance. We have lost great businesses over the past year. Businesses that make our town, our city, our county, and our country unique. Dreams have been lost whether challenged by the transition to digital, the lack in-person networking, the inability to manage forward planning, unexpectedly having to leave the bricks and mortar business model, the lack of work-life balance, the increased shipping costs coming out of the ears, and the downturn in creativity, or the blips in production, or questioning long-term versus short-term decisions, or the pressure of performing. Actually, do you know what? We can all nod in agreement that these days are like no other. The one thing I do know is that it does take a village. Help your fellow business owner purchase from the small business owner. Encourage those you know to keep up the fight and offer advice and assistance whenever able. Maybe in the end, it's not the ideas that ever made us great in the first place, but rather the drive and the determination that will make it all happen. COVID has knocked us all on our arse, but it will never ever take our perseverance. And that's it for this podcast. If you want more ideas, thoughts and strategies, as well as a free book entitled 101 Questions for Small Business Owners, then head over to www.marcford.uk. Follow me on the usual social media channels and all that sort of stuff, and maybe even rate and review this podcast or video, and I will greatly appreciate it. Until next time, I have been Marc Ford, and you, my friend, have been brilliant. Take care.